As regional tensions surge, global powers scramble to prevent a wider war after Israel's strike on Iran. Tonight on Qnews, we break down the fallout and the fragile diplomacy hanging in the balance. Iran launched a new wave of missiles at Israel and the occupied West Bank on Saturday. A fresh barrage of Iranian missiles struck Israel and the Israeli-occupied West Bank Saturday, marking day 9 of intense aerial confrontation. The Israeli occupation forces reported intercepting multiple strikes after sirens blared across several regions. Residents in parts of the West Bank witnessed missile trails overhead. The conflict erupted on June 13th when Israel launched attacks on Iranian targets, escalating tensions already high due to the war in Gaza. Israel, widely believed to possess nuclear weapons, claims it's acting to block Iran's nuclear ambitions. Tehran maintains its program as strictly peaceful. An Iranian drone strike hit a building in Beijing today, causing damage but no injuries. Israeli emergency teams inspected the aftermath of an Iranian drone strike in Beijing on Saturday, where a building sustained heavy damage. A large crater was left at the impact site, but no injuries were reported. The city's mayor confirmed the absence of casualties while surveying the scene. The strike adds to rising tensions amid ongoing hostilities between Israel and Iran, now in their second week of escalation. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has stated that negotiations with the United States are impossible while Israeli attacks continue. That comes as foreign ministers of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation convened in Istanbul. Araghchi emphasized that he cannot engage in talks with the U.S. while Iranian citizens face bombardment, which he claims is supported by the U.S. His comments followed U.S. President Donald Trump's suggestion of potentially supporting a ceasefire in the ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran. Araghchi accused the U.S. of being involved in the conflict since its inception, contradicting their claims of neutrality.
The aggression should be stopped. It is obvious I cannot go to...
Iran refuses negotiations as Israel kills top Quds Force commander in its latest strike. The Israeli occupation forces said the senior Quds Force commander, who was responsible for regional arms transfers, was targeted in western Iran. They described the strike as a major blow to Iran's operational capabilities. Tehran has condemned the attack and vowed there will be no talks under fire as tensions between the two states continue to spiral. And for further analysis, we're joined from Cairo by the Iranian Affairs specialized writer, Mr. Amr Ahmad. Mr. Amr, thank you so much for joining us on this special coverage. And let me start with the fact that Iran still refuses the zero enrichment option. In light of this, what are the broader regional risks if Iran continues to retaliate with missile and drone attacks?
Greetings, Ms. Salma and your dear viewers. The continuation of the trading strikes between Iran and Israel will indulge the area in a state of devastation. Devastation on the level of infrastructure along with economics. Particularly in case of the escalations that included the nuclear weapons in the calculus that will repeat or that will yield to a great devastation and the pollution containment in the region. Iran is trying to increase its strikes within Israel currently. Since this morning, Iran had launched several bombardments, or rather that Israel actually retaliated in the areas of Iran. There is a great focus of Israel to targeting the Iranian facilities are centered in the central governorate and the west. and now it's reaching in the southeastern of Iran, in line with the Iranian retaliations by using the Iranian air defenses. So no one wishes to the conflict is to be expanded. Several of the countries, through statement of the Arab countries, in top of which was Egypt, to escalate the regions and to avoid indulging the area of an vicious circle of conflicts or such conflicts to be expanded.
Now, tackling a major development on the military level, which is the killing of Quds Force commander, how significant is this exactly, and how will this impact Iran's upcoming military operations?
Targeting the commander of Al Quds Force is a part of an greater assassination that targeting the senior commanders in Iran, as we followed in the first day by targeting the residential headquarters of a number of blocks. We're talking about more than 25 military leaders. It is a part of eliminating the military leaders so that have some military decisions. Al-Quds Force working abroad, and it has its activities abroad that would interpret the Israeli targeted of Lebanon. Israel do not wish to have some sort of a linkage between Iran within its military leaders and with its leaders as known Iranian arms and or proxies in the region.
So another development, which is that Ali Khamenei has selected replacements in his military chain in case they are killed, and he also selected candidates to succeed him in case he's killed as well. How do you interpret this exactly?
If we go to some scenarios as reported by the Western platforms, the idea of the supreme leader's alternative, this is is based on the Iranian parliament, and by choosing another successor for the supreme leader under the Vilayat al-Faqih regime. So the issue isn't linked to a personal, and the regime structure isn't based on one individual or person. The matter will be dealt as any sort of leadership changes, as we followed at the beginning of the Israeli aggressions starting on Friday.
Now, from the military perspective, what message is Iran sending by escalating missile and drone attacks rather than relying solely on proxy responses?
Iran wanted to say that has a very strong air defense system ranging from ballistic and supersonic, and what is related to the drones. As we followed from the first 48 hours since the attacks started, that was sort of a setback of retaliation, followed by a balance inside, as those who were assassinated were replaced, and the new leaders started to take military decisions, and we've seen a very swift response, as just to that just to foresee the mechanism of the Israeli air defense system, and some new missiles have managed to cause a state of chaos within Israel. Israeli statement through the media could be interpreted that Israel does not know to whom is engaging war was, and even some of such missiles had a great impact within Israel. That they were talking about the Jil missile with all its types, Sijil 1 and 2 and 3, several types of such a missile. And also, we're talking about Orange missile 4 that can carry more than warheads during the attacks. And we're talking about Fatah 1 and 2 missiles as they are supersonic missiles. Fatah 1 was used in this operation, didn't not use yet Fatah 2 and Huram Shah 5. A set of air defense system never been engaged yet in such a conflict.
Now, Mr. Amr, I have to integrate Gaza into our conversation here. From your point of view, how does this Iran-Israel conflict intersect with the war in Gaza and also the wider Arab response?
Due to such escalation or the war of attrition, as I wish to name it, the file of Gaza has had few steps back. So, what? So everyone is concerned about the strikes affected by both sides. So therefore, Gaza file isn't the top list of the international concern, and naturally affected the Palestinian cause. That lead several of calls, on top of which the Egyptian call to de-escalate the region and to open several suspended files that caused by the government of Netanyahu, and the Palestinian cause should be resolved and to create the state of calm in Gaza.
From Cairo, that was Mr. Amr Ahmed, the Iranian Affairs Specialized Writer. Thank you so much for joining us here on Qnews and for all the insight you provided us with. Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdel Ati has warned that the Israeli attacks on Iran threaten wider conflict in the region. At the OIC summit in Istanbul, Abdel Ati condemned Israel's June 13 strikes on Iran. He warned of regional fallout and urged a ceasefire and return to negotiations. Egypt's foreign minister denounced Israeli attacks on nuclear sites, calling them violations of international law and a threat to stability across the Middle East. A senior Iranian official has described the proposals from European powers during Geneva talks on Iran's nuclear program as unrealistic and unlikely to yield an agreement. He stated that Iran would evaluate the European proposals in Tehran and respond in the next meeting. The official emphasized that zero enrichment is a dead end and reaffirmed that Iran would not negotiate its defensive capabilities, including its missile program. Russian President Vladimir Putin says Moscow has repeatedly told Israel there is no evidence Iran is pursuing nuclear arms. He stressed Iran's right to a peaceful nuclear program. President Vladimir Putin reaffirmed that Russia and the International Atomic Energy Agency have found no proof Iran is developing nuclear weapons. He underlined Iran's right to advance its peaceful nuclear program under international law. Putin added that Moscow is sharing proposals with both Iran and Israel to help reduce violence and avoid further escalation. And for further analysis, we're joined from Cairo by the editor-in-chief of the Shuruq newspaper and Egyptian Senator Ahmed El-Din Hussein. Mr. Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us. And first off, how does Egypt's condemnation of Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear sites reflect its broader diplomatic strategy in the region?
Peace be upon you all. Naturally, the Egyptian stance is clear and crystal and clear. But comprehensively, the idea of the have the Middle East region free of nuclear weapons, and that was in the middle of the 19th. To it is a preemptive and necessary to clear the area of the world WPE. So there was an agreement of the MPT that is submitted of international supervision and a previous Western American agreement with this matter. And therefore, if when Israel attacks Iran, so that was logically for Egypt to condemn such aggression. Such a condemnation, as Egypt's policy is based from the international legislation and breached by Israel. And therefore, what is Egypt is doing with respect to the Israeli aggression against Iran is clear and crystal. In the first day, Egypt condemned the strikes and to implement the international laws and to prefer the political solution, as such a conflict would have a great impact on the region. So literally, Egypt's foreign minister Abdelati, through with the foreign minister of Iran, Arakji, through which they retaliated the confirmation of the condemnation, as this conflict will impact the whole region.
Mm-hmm. Now, tackling the outcomes that took place at the Geneva meeting, to what extent do European nuclear proposals clash with Iran's red lines, especially regarding missile development and enrichment?
Naturally, French President Macron, before Geneva meeting, said there were three main issues to be tackled in the meeting between the E3, along with the Iran's foreign minister, which is the dismantling the nuclear program and to prevent Iran of developing a nuclear weapon, and secondly the missiles program, and third to stop funding its proxy. Iranian foreign minister totally rejected such an idea by saying that we are very prepared to enter the negotiation, but the Iranian arrangement is red line. So European proposal means to have a full guardianship against Iran. The dilemma here is that Iranian is adopting the Israelis' demands, and it's very clearly taken green light by U.S. So President Trump came yesterday and dealt sarcastically with the European countries to stop the war, and by saying that Iran wishes only the U.S. to get involved in negotiation. That means that Donald Trump did not prefer the European role in such a negotiation that would go in favor of Israel. I think that Trump is very proud, as always, by the with having the full credits of ending the conflict. Would never give a chance for Europe and other parties to have the lights of such a deed.
Now, moving on to Russia's stance, Putin has defended Iran's right to develop a peaceful nuclear program. What impact could Putin's statements and Russia's involvement have on efforts to de-escalate the Israel-Iran confrontation?
As we know, Russia is assisting Iran in peaceful nuclear program, as contributed in Bushar reactor that has a Russian expert of such a program. This is the first point. The second point is good ties between Russia and Iran. in several arenas, cooperated with each other before the toppling Bashar al-Assad regime. And there is Iran has helped Russia in its war with Ukraine. Defeat in Iran means a strategic defeat for Russia, as saying that Iran, one of the very dominant main pillar of the Russian policy, that is exposed in a great siege by US and Western power, but would for the US and Europe to allow Russia to play a political role and get the credit with this regard, I doubt this very much. So talking about Russian role that is anticipated by the transforming the fuel of a nuclear that being enriched outside Iran, one of the places was suggested by in Russia, but up till this now, U.S. Northwest would never give a chance to Russia to play such a role.
One of the major statements as well was the one made by President Erdogan, where he accused Israel that it aims to sabotage diplomacy. How might this affect Israel's international standing?
As we know, Israel never had any concern about its stature. That was very manifested since the first day of its aggression against Gaza. Israel bombarded the queues of those who are seeking for the food, killing them 24/7 and demolishing all the infrastructure. Israel is fully relying on US, entered a conflict with all the international institutions and organizations, and critic the statement of Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General. I think that Israel is paying no attention to this matter. It's only concerned about the European, or rather the Western and US support.
Now, analyzing Macron's standing here, how realistic is Macron's hope for nuclear negotiations amid the active military escalation and hardened Iranian positions?
I think that the US president isn't dealing seriously with the president of France, Macron. So, in the first moment following the bombardment of Israel against the Iranian nuclear facilities and the assassination of the Iranian scientist, we never seen any condemnation by Macron, but he said that he is with this, standing with Israel as it defends itself. France has no many, of course, that would give it that size with all appreciation, but the nature and Trump's structure would never allow anyone else to be in the picture. What are France's cards in order to play a mediator in the conflict? There are problems between Macron and Israel, and ultimately, when the matter is going to Syria, Macron would never given up to stand Israel with Israel as the other European countries.
That was Ahmed Eldin Hussein from Cairo, the editor-in-chief of the Shuluq newspaper and Egyptian senator. Thank you so much for joining us here on Q News. And this brings us to the end of our special coverage on the latest developments between Iran and Israel. Don't forget to follow Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Q News EG to stay informed. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more updates on Q News.